Hi, and welcome to West End Yoga's YouTube channel. My name is Maggie, and today I'll be leading you through an alignment-based yoga practice with an emphasis on finding elongation within the body. So the idea is that we'll find two different points within the body, and then we'll try to imagine that those two different points are moving away from each other, creating more length within our body. I normally teach the level 1 wall yoga class at West End as well as the beginner series at West End. So when I am airing, so to speak, videos at 1 o'clock on Saturdays, I'm going to try to gear those classes more towards beginners, but I will cue lots of different options so that yogis of all levels can participate. This virtual format, as I'm sure many of you are aware of, is as of a direct result of the COVID-19 health crisis. And so if you would like to make a donation to West End Yoga while we were having to have our physical studio be closed, if you'd like to make a donation, a contribution, a monthly contribution to West End, a Patreon account has been established that we would be so thrilled if you would use. There is a link on the West End Yoga's YouTube channel's homepage if you would like to look into that. I would also like to say that this has been a strange time for all of us. It's been a very anxious time. It's been a hectic time. It's been a confusing time. So I am ever so grateful that we can still spend time together in this way, on this format, in community. I'll be honest with you, I have agonized over these classes. This is a very new experience for me, trying to allow myself to actually be documented in this way. But I've come to the conclusion that whatever I have to offer you, it's not going to be perfect, but it will be authentic. And I'm just going to do the best that I can. So thank you so much for joining me. Let's go ahead and let's get started. All right. Let's find a comfortable seated position here on our yoga mat, taking whatever comfortable seat works for you. So maybe that means crossing the legs, maybe that means sort of stacking the legs, just finding whatever works the best for you. Eyes can be opened or closed. Imagining that your ears are over your shoulders, your rib cage is over the bowl of the pelvis, your sitting bones are grounding into the earth. Crown of the head is lifting up towards the sky. Imagine that the crown of your head is moving away from your tailbone, creating just a little bit of space in between all of your vertebrae. And then once you feel comfortable in your alignment, once you feel engaged in your seated alignment here, you can start to come into your breath. Initially, just notice the breath. Don't try to change the breath, not at first. Try to think of the breath as something that you receive instead of something that you're trying to accomplish. Notice the expansion that occurs in the body on the inhales and the contraction that happens on the exhales. If you can, try breathing in and out through the nose. But if that's not comfortable, breathe in whatever way allows you to make the breaths deep, even, smooth, mindful, intentional. And then if you'd like, you could transition to a 3-part breath. That's when we inhale deeply, allowing the belly to expand, then the rib cage expands, And then that air comes to the upper lungs as the collarbones and shoulder blades move away from each other, creating a little bit of elongation in that part of the body. As you exhale, all of that happens in reverse. The upper lungs deflate, the rib cage contracts, the belly contracts, and you can even actively pull your belly button in towards your spine to expel the last of that stale air out of the very bottom of your lungs. Think of each breath as a gift. So often we take our breath for granted, but it truly is a gift, and one that we share with every other living being around us. Taking just a few more breaths here. When you're ready, if your eyes were closed, you can allow the eyes to once again blink open, bringing yourself back into the room, into your space. Let's take a deep inhale here, lifting our arms up above our head, finding length all along, not just the back body, but the front of the body. Length from the shoulder blades to the fingertips, length from the crown of the head down to our sitting bones. We ground as we grow. We must ground in order to grow. And then as you are ready, we're just going to take a little twist over towards the right side of our mat. So I'm going to do my best to mirror you here today. Some of the sequence that I have planned might get a little bit confusing, but I'm hoping that the mirroring works out okay. But please do bear with me. So turning your chest over towards the right side of your mat, checking in with your opposite hip, rotating that hip, the left hip, back towards the wall behind you, allowing the twist to be in better alignment, allowing the twist to emanate from the earth instead of allowing the twist to only be in sort of the, in the abdominal region of the spine. You could look off the opposite shoulder if that feels good, or off the same shoulder. Remembering that your neck is part of your spine. Sometimes we forget that. Your neck is part of your spine, so don't let that not be part of the equation. Let's take an inhale here, coming back up to center, and we'll exhale over towards the left side of our mat this time. Once again, checking in with your opposite hip. So this time we're turning towards the left, so check in with the right hip. Rotating that right hip back towards the wall behind you. Torso turns in the opposite direction, allowing there to be a nice engaged twist. You can take your left arm back behind your spine, almost like it is a double spine, as your other hand comes to your opposite knee. Once again, don't forget about the neck, so maybe looking off the shoulder towards the back of the room. Allowing the pelvic floor to engage here, imagining still that the crown of your head is moving away from your hips. Inhale, let's come back to center, finding that length, lifting your fingertips up towards the heavens. We'll take tented right fingers to the earth, and we're going to find here a little bit of sort of opposition between your left lifted hand that's lifting up towards the sky and your right fingers, which are on the earth. So imagine that you're like sinking your right fingers into the ground as your right shoulder melts towards the ground, but your left shoulder lifts towards the sky, almost as though it's trying to join the lifted left fingertips here. Sometimes I do get my left mixed up with my right, so please do bear with me. I believe I'm cueing correctly at this point. As I said, I'll do my best with the mirroring here. All right, and then when you're ready, maybe walking your right fingertips out towards the right side of your mat a little bit, coming into a little bit of a side bend here. Please feel free to allow the torso to face forward, or if it would feel good to you today, you could turn your torso slightly towards the sky above you. Even in this pose, where can you find a little bit more length? Can you allow that left sitting bone to really ground into the earth as evenly as the right so that we don't lose our good base of support? Good. Inhale, back up to center. Exhale, tented left fingers to the earth. Right palm lifts towards the sky. Right elbow, right shoulder blade, reaching towards the sky along with that palm. Left elbow, left shoulder blade, almost like they're trying to move farther away from the right arm. Right fingers, or left fingers rather, tenting into the earth, almost like you're trying to sink your left fingers into the earth. Breathing here. And then whenever you're ready, walking your left fingers out towards the left side of your mat, taking this little side bend here. Once again, torso can face forward or torso can turn slightly towards the heavens above you. Breathing here. Always remember to breathe. To hold the breath is like denying life. Let the life flow through you. Once again, checking in with both sitting bones, making sure that both of them are grounding into the earth evenly. We don't want all our weight to be shifting to one side here. Imagine that you're creating length all along, not just the right side of the body, but the left side of the body as well. Inhale, both arms up towards center once again. Exhale your hands to your knees. We're just going to take a few gentle seated cat-cows here. So inhale into your seated cow. Elbows can actually move back towards the wall behind you as you grip onto your knees, lifting chin and collarbones towards the sky. Tailbone untucks. Exhale into that classic Halloween cat back. Tailbone tucks under. Gaze can be at the earth. Inhale, cow. Inhale, exhale, seated cat. Continuing to flow at your own pace with your own breath. Allowing the breath itself to kind of dictate how quickly you are moving. When you are in cow, as I said before, really allow those shoulder blades and elbows to move towards the back body. But when you are in cat, imagine that your shoulder blades are coming towards the front of the body and your elbows are almost trying to touch out in front of you. They won't come anywhere near touching, but just imagine that that's happening. Even in this little seated cat-cow flow, where in your body can you find a little bit more length? Maybe it's along the back of the neck, the front of the neck. Maybe it's along the front of the chest. Maybe it's just in your fingertips. Good. And then when you're ready, returning to that neutral spine here, returning to your comfortable seated alignment. Whenever we are in a comfortable seat or easy seat as it's sometimes referred to, we want to have that nice flat mountain back. So we want to have that tabletop back, that mountain back. So even when we're just casually sitting here, imagine that your ears are over your shoulders, your rib cage is over the bowl of the pelvis. Another way to think of this is that the back of your head is resting against a wall behind you. The back of your hips are moving back towards that wall as the tailbone melts back towards that wall. And then after you find that sort of grounding sensation of allowing your back body to melt towards that imaginary wall behind you, take a lift of the crown of the head up towards the sky. Rotate shoulder blades onto the back body in order to help you engage your core muscles to find this lift. Good. All right, from here, let's go ahead and let's transition to a tabletop position. And this is where my cueing might get a little bit, my mirroring rather, might get a little bit confusing. I will do the best that I can. So find a tabletop position here. Wrists underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. We'll we'll just take a few breaths right here. The heel of each hand comes to the earth. The base of all 10 fingers grounds into the earth. The knuckles melt towards the earth, having a nice little even distance between all 10 of your digits. Imagining here that your tailbone is moving away from the crown of your head as you gently tuck your chin in towards your voice box, allowing the muscles at the front of the throat to engage without allowing the head to fall forward. Good. Really rotating shoulder blades onto the back body as you engage the pelvic floor and the abdominal muscles. Let's go ahead and let's straighten our left leg back behind us, taking the ball of the foot, the toes on the earth. And let's just find some length here from the left leg, from the left heel rather, to the left hip. Sorry about that. Had a little bit of a brain freeze. If wrists are an issue, remember you can always come onto your forearms, you could come onto tented fingers, or you could come onto fists. We want to give those wrists lots of love. As somebody who's injured her wrist before, we definitely don't want to be doing anything that makes you feel like you're compromising your wrist. So go ahead, allow that left heel to melt towards the earth, away from your left hip. If you're comfortable here, stay right here. If you'd like to take tented right fingers towards the front of your mat, go ahead and do so. In this, imagine that your right fingers are moving away from your right shoulder. So it's like your right shoulder is pulling up towards the sky as your right fingers ground and sink into the earth. If this feels comfortable for you, please feel free to stay right here. If you'd like to start to lift the left leg, you could. If you'd like to start to lift the right arm, you could. Imagine this time that the left heel is moving away from the right fingertips. Feel free to adjust the placement of the left hand on the earth however you need to in order to create a nice space of support. This is a balance pose. Good. Moving fingers away from the heel, away from your heel. Good. And then return the right hand to the earth and return the ball of the left foot to the earth. And we're just going to simply go ahead and we're going to pivot. So this right knee that's on the earth is going to act like a kickstand. So we're going to kickstand the lower part of our right leg out towards the side of our mat. We're going to take the entirety of the left foot to the earth. We're going to line up our right hand, our right arm underneath our right shoulder, and we're going to lift our left arm up towards the sky, finding ourselves in a supported plank pose here, a supported side plank pose, I should say. This is a modification of side plank. Once again, if you have wrist issues, this is a good modification if you're in a vinyasa class and it's just too much on your wrist. Having this knee on the earth as a kickstand can really create more stability and take some pressure off the wrist. In this pose, can you imagine that the outer right edge of your left foot is moving away from the crown of your head? So don't just allow your head to kind of sway and fall and lose engagement over towards the right shoulder. Allow the crown of the head to move at a diagonal away from the outer edge of the left foot. Allow your lifted left fingers to move away from your right fingers or your right fist or your right palm, which is on the earth. Finding as much length throughout the body as possible. And then inhale, we'll come to kind of be upright here. We'll take T-shaped arms. We'll reach one set of fingers over towards one wall and the other one towards the other wall. So imagine your palms are moving away from each other. And then when you're ready, if you're ready, you can just tilt over towards the left side, allowing your left palm to come to the left leg as the right fingers lift up towards the sky. So create as much length from this right knee to the lifted right fingers here. breathing into this, coming into a version of a gate pose. If at some point you would like to take this into a little bit of a side bend, feel free. But if you'd like to continue to allow the right fingers to lift towards the sky, maybe that might be a different sensation in gait that you hadn't felt before. So as with many side bends, sometimes we collapse into the pose and we kind of lose that elongation. So even if you take the side bend, don't lose that sense of elongation throughout the body. Good. Inhale, we'll take our T-shaped arms once again. Exhale, back into our side plank. And then our left hand can join the right fingers on the earth. Knees can be side by side as we melt back into a child's pose. My voice lifts, but you can continue to remain in your child's for just a few breaths here. Even in this pose, even in child's. Can you imagine you're creating length somewhere in your body? Good. All right, go ahead and come to sit upright, kind of kneeling for just a second in order to transition back into your tabletop pose. I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to face the other way so that I can continue to attempt to mirror you guys. All right, so once again, tabletop pose here. Finding that nice flat mountain back. I have a little bit of kyphosis in my upper back, so it's really important for me that I kind of cinch, imagine that my back ribs are moving towards each other, like cinching in towards center, and then moving slightly towards the back of my heart. Good. So Jonina likes to say, imagine that you have a dorsal fin, like a dolphin or a shark, and you're pulling that dorsal fin in towards center. Excellent. Once again, length from tailbone to crown of the head, gently tucking the chin in towards the voice box. This time, we're going to extend the right leg back behind us, tuck those toes, right toes remain on the earth. If you're happy staying right here and simply just allowing the emphasis to be on finding length along the right leg, please feel free to do so. Right heel melts towards the earth as it moves away from the right hip. Good. I'm going to come onto my fists here instead of onto my palms to take a little pressure off of my wrists. And then, if you would like to take tented left fingers onto the earth, you can imagine that your left shoulder is moving away from your tented left fingers. Breathing into this. So before we even start to lift the arm and the leg, think, where in my body am I creating length? Am I creating length along my right leg? Am I creating length along my left arm? Am I creating length along my back body, my front body, along my fingertips? Good. And then when you're ready, feel free to lift that right leg and that left arm. And as you can see, I have not been very good at spatial relations here because I'm now basically touching the shelf out in front of me. But we'll go ahead and we'll work with this. So really allow the heel of the lifted leg to move away from the fingertips of the lifted arm. So it's like you're trying to rest your your right foot on a wall behind you as you're reaching your fingertips towards the wall in front of you. Good. And then returning the left hand to the earth. And we'll take those right toes to the earth once again, and we're going to transition into our supported or modified side plank by kickstanding the left leg out. Top of the left foot can come to the earth. The bottom of the right foot, the fullness of the bottom of the right foot can find its way to the earth. Once again, finding length all along the body. So from all along the right side of the body, from the outer edge of of the right foot all the way to the crown of the head. Once again, don't allow that head to just sort of flop over. Lifting your right fingers towards the sky as your left fingers ground into the earth. Imagine that your two hands are moving away from each other. Imagine that the crown of your head is moving away from the outer edge of the right foot. Good. Finding lots of length. Can you even find length from your left knee to your left hip? Good job, everybody. All right, we're gonna once again come to sort of stand on our knee to be upright here. Fingertips moving away from each other, palms moving away from each other as shoulder blades rotate onto the back body. Good. And then when you're ready, you can take your right hand to your right leg and lift your left hand up towards the sky, finding that length all along the left side of the body. Once again, if you'd like to just make the focus of this be the lifting of the left fingers towards the sky, you could. Or if you'd like to come into a little bit of a side bend, you could choose to do so. Coming into more of a traditional gate pose here. Taking just a few breaths in this version of gate. And it looks like Grija, one of our kitties, has come to join us in yoga here today. She just did a little bit of down dog, I think. Hi, she's a talker. Breathing here. Let's go ahead and let's inhale, coming to be upright. Once again, reaching fingertips away from each other, creating length across the chest. Imagine that your collarbones are moving away from each other as your shoulder blades rotate onto the back body. And once again, we'll tilt back into our supported side plank, our modified side plank, our knee down side plank. Finding length from your fingers on the earth to your fingers reaching towards the heavens here. Lots of weight in the outer edge of that foot, of that right foot on the earth. Good. And then returning your lifted right hand to the earth. Hi, honey. We're going to go ahead and we're going to melt back into our child's pose once again. Taking just a few breaths here, finding length in this child's pose. Breathing into any tight places you might be feeling. Good. And then when you are ready, let's go ahead and let's just come to sit upright on in a kneeling position. I'm just going to go see if I can coax Grija to maybe find something else to do. For just a moment. All right. So here we are in a kneeling position. If kneeling does not work for you, please feel free to just come back to a comfortable seated position. But if kneeling is good for you, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our hands back behind us. Even if you're seated, you can rotate shoulder blades onto the back body as your fingertips just kind of gently press into the earth. Coming into a modified version of a camel pose. So in this version of camel, our emphasis is going to be on allowing the fingers to sink into the earth as the chin and the collarbones lift towards the sky. So in this one, we're finding length all along our arms and imagining our chin and our collarbones are moving away from our fingers. Good. And then when you're ready, just return to a comfortable kneeling position or a comfortable seated position. If that worked for you, please feel free to go ahead and do what you did previously. But if you'd like to join me in a slightly different version of a modified camel, please feel free to do so. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come to be upright. I'm going to tuck my toes under because that allows my heels to be a little bit closer towards my hips. And I'm just going to take the palms of my hands to my lower back, to my lumbar spine. Once again, let's start to lift the chin and the collarbones towards the sky as the shoulder blades and the elbows move towards each other. Finding length all along the front body as well as the back body. So many times in Camel, the emphasis is on how far can you bend backwards, but the emphasis, in my opinion, really should be on how can you find elongation into the body. If you don't find that elongation in the body before you kind of come into that gentle back bend, then you might be crunching your vertebrae, which is very detrimental to your spine health in the long run. So, taking just a few breaths right here, shoulders rotating onto the back body. There's magnets in between your elbows. Elbows are moving towards each other. Collarbones lifting towards the sky, chin lifting towards the sky. If at some point it would feel comfortable to you to take your hands to your heels, please feel free to do so. Just don't compromise the length that you found. If this is too much in the lower spine, go ahead and return your hands to your lower back. Good. And when you're ready, we're just going to allow ourselves to return to a kneeling position in order to transition to stand. I think I lost my my co-teacher here for a little bit. She seems to have wandered off somewhere else. All right, let's come into our mountain alignment here. So in mountain, just like when we're seated, we want ears over shoulders, rib cage over the bowl of the pelvis. So imagine that there is a wall at your back body and you're just allowing yourself to melt back towards that wall. If you feel like you're locking your knees out, make sure you take a little gentle bend in the knees. And then looking down at your feet, making sure they're about hip width apart. And making sure that the midline of the thigh is lining up with the midline of the foot. So that's right about between that second and third toe. Palms can initially face forward as we take length from the bottoms of our feet to the crown of the head. Once again, gently tucking your chin in towards your voice box. Taking just a few deep breaths here. Allow your breath to be your anchor. It's that thing, that part of you that you can always return to. If you're hearing any strange noises, Grija is now drinking water. So I'm hoping that's not showing up, but or I hope that's not audible, but if it sounds like someone's drinking, it's because somebody is. All right, and now let's take a deep inhale here, lifting our arms towards the sky, finding an extended mountain. Palms can face forward. We're going to find a little flow from here, and it's going to be a bit of a balance flow. So before we do, imagine the bottoms of your feet are moving away from the fingertips as you shrug your shoulders up towards your ears, creating as much length in the body as possible. All right, and from here, we're going to find a little bit of a balance pose. So we're going to shift our weight into our right foot as we start to lift the left knee slightly. The bottom or the toes, the left toes can remain on the earth if that is good for you, or you can allow your knee to lift even further, allowing yourself to balance thusly as your arms can come down at your sides. Good. All right. As you inhale and bring your arms back up towards the sky and return your foot to the earth, finding your extended mountain once again. As you exhale, you can lift your opposite knee up. Now, once again, you could just have the left toes on the earth, or the right toes rather on the earth, or you can allow your right thigh to be relatively parallel to the earth underneath you. Whatever works for you here. This is your practice, so anything that I cue is an offering, not an obligation. Inhale back up to extended mountain. Exhale, finding this balance on the other side as your arms come down towards your side. So it's almost like your arms and your knees are like on a pulley system. And let's face it, some days you got balance and some days you don't. This is the second yoga practice that I've done today. I'm a little fatigued from the initial one. That definitely affects my balance. All right, doing this just a few more times, allowing the core to be engaged here. Good. Finding length from the bottom of your standing foot to the crown of your head. Imagine you're finding length from your shoulder blades to your fingers that are reaching down towards the ground. Inhale, extended mountain. Trying not to allow yourself to shift from side to side too much, so we don't want to be like doing like this with the hips. We really want to be finding as little bit of a shift in the hips as possible. That's easier said than done. Good. The next time you come into extended mountain, maybe you'd like to add a little bit of a heel lift, bringing lots of weight to those big toes. On an exhale, you could lower the heels. Inhale, finding length. Exhale, lifting the opposite knee, arms come down at the sides. If you change up this sequence a little bit, no worries. This is your practice. This is, I keep trying to remind myself that, literally we are on our own in our homes. So this is a good opportunity to dance like no one's watching. Or in this case, do yoga like no one's watching. Good. All right, the next time you find yourself in extended mountain with the heels maybe lifted, really finding length from the toes and the balls of the feet on the earth to the lifted fingers. Good. Exhale, take those heels to the earth, and we're just gonna swan dive down into a forward fold. Inhale, finding a halfway lift, nice flat tabletop back. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, lifting the whole way back up, extended mountain, and then hands can come to heart center. Did I mention that our one kitty, Grisia, is a talker? Because she's doing a lot of talking today, so thank you so much for bearing with me here. I hope it's bringing you a little bit of joy. I know she brings me tons of joy. All right, once again, find your mountain pose, find your good mountain alignment. We're going to come into a standing twist series now. So, finding length from the bottoms of your feet to the crown of your head, just as we did before. Inhaling the arms towards the sky. Heels can remain on the earth for this one. So this is kind of a variation of what we did when we were doing a seated twist. So as you exhale, make cactus arms and turn over towards the right side of your mat. Now, when you do this, try to imagine that there is a dancer bar directly in front of your hips, allowing your hips to rest upon this dancer bar. So we're not going to allow our left hip to shift in front of our right as we turn to the right. We're going to allow our hips to remain stationary as we turn to the right. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, turn towards the left. Once again, hips stay stationary. Inhale, center. Exhale, find your twist. Engage the core as you continue to flow. If you feel like this is not really doing much for you, I challenge you the next time you come into your cactus arms, make muscles as you rotate your shoulder blades onto the back body. So it's like we got Rosie the Riveter arms here. Inhale back to center. Exhale over towards the other side. If what I'm saying about the dancer bar isn't really resonating with you, another way you could think about it is when you turn to the right, imagine that your left hip is rotating towards the wall behind you, allowing once again for that sort of 2 points moving away from each other, creating elongation to happen. Let's do this just a few more times. Make those really strong, powerful muscles with your arms. Inhaling back to center, exhaling, twisting over towards the other side. Inhaling back to center, twisting once more to the left, right hip rotates towards the wall behind you. Inhale back to center. Exhale your hands at heart center, or your palms can face forward with your arms at your side. Taking just a few breaths here. Excellent. All right, let's go ahead and let's come into an Utkatasana, or a chair pose. I'm going to turn in this direction so that I have the full runway of my mat to utilize when we transition to the earth. So let's go ahead, let's inhale our arms up towards the sky and take a little gentle bend in the knees. So initially in this version of chair, let's keep our body upright. So instead of kind of folding forward, see if you can keep your body relatively upright as your sitting bones move away from the crown of the head, as your fingertips move away from your heels. We're going to utilize this chair to transition to the earth. If this doesn't work for you, know that you can kind of settle into your chair and then just transition to the earth in whatever way works best for you. But if you'd like to join me in transitioning the whole way to the earth utilizing chair, you can start to allow those sitting bones to melt towards the earth a little bit more. Just like we did in Camel, imagine your collarbones are moving away from your sitting bones, lifting towards the sky. Bending the knees a little bit deeper. Please feel free to take your hands down at your sides if that creates a little bit more stability for you as you descend the whole way to the earth. And when you do, just straighten those legs out, shaking them out a little bit, coming into a staff pose for just a moment. So flexing all 10 toes in towards your face. Taking just a few breaths here. Nice, flat back. Once again, imagine your back body is resting against a wall for support. Good. And then when you're ready, taking a bend in the knees, taking the soles of the feet to the earth, we're going to come into a Navasana, the boat pose. Jen, if you're watching, she's my volunteer. I love her so much. She's so helpful. I miss her. I miss her. I miss her. Jen, if you're watching, I said boat instead of bridge. I actually said the right thing. All right, here we go. We are coming into a boat. Now I'm going to give you a couple different steps, and you can stop at any point. All right, so if you are prioritizing this length from the tailbone to the crown of the head, you might find that this is your version of boat, just basically pulling your knees in towards your chest, maybe taking the toes to the earth. This is just as much of a boat as any other version of boat. Taking a few breaths here. Now, one thing that you'll frequently see in yoga classes is when people come into the boat, they tend to go like this, the back rounds, and they shift their weight back towards their sitting bone. That's not what we're going for in this class. As you know, the theme is elongation, imagining 2 points in your body are moving away from each other. So we want that tailbone and the crown of the head to be moving away, creating space in between all of your vertebrae. So if you need to stop here, stop here. If you'd like to lift the toes just a little bit, you can. You're gonna need to rotate those shoulder blades actively onto the back body in order to keep that alignment in the back body. As you can see, this is a challenge for me. I need to allow my head to come back in space a little bit more without allowing my lowest ribs to pop forward. If you'd like to come into a deeper version of boat, you could allow your lower legs to be parallel to the earth underneath you, or you could simply allow your toes to return to the earth. Whatever works for you, taking any variation in arms that works for you. This is about the 10th boat that I've done so far today. And I honestly am exhausted. So I think I'm just going to return my toes to the earth. Taking just a few more breaths here, creating length from your toes to your knees, from your knees to your hips, from your hips to the crown of your head. Good. And then once again, extending your legs long, shaking them out a little bit here. We're going to take our arms out in front of us, creating length from shoulders to fingertips, tailbone to crown of the head, hips to the bottoms of the feet. We're going to take a slow roll down. So like you're moving through sand, taking your time, rolling down onto the earth. See if you can still maintain elongation within your body as you do this. There's going to come a point where your upper body is going to feel a good deal heavier than your lower body. See if instead of trying to compensate for that, just see if you can slow your descent towards the earth just a little bit more. Good. And then when you arrive, go ahead and just melt into the earth for a moment. Take the soles of your feet to the earth, knees facing up towards the sky. We're going to lift our hips just a tiny bit. We're going to take our palms underneath our hips. Your pointer finger and your thumb can touch, creating sort of a triangular space underneath your bottom. And then go ahead and lower your hips back down onto your palms. This creates just a tiny bit of a lift in the hips off the earth. Inhaling, we're going to pull our knees in towards our chest and then straighten our legs up towards the sky. Remember, you can always take a bend in the knees to make this more accessible. But imagine that you're standing on the ceiling with your legs. So your toes can flex in towards your face, taking just a few breaths here in legs up the wall. Once again, let's create some length from our toes to our heels, from our heels to our hips, from our hips to our shoulders, from our shoulders to the crown of the head. Good, and then pulling your knees in towards your chest. If a last moment happy baby would feel good, please feel free to do that. Just grabbing the outside edge of each foot, the ankles or the backs of the legs. Willing those knees in towards the armpit, or if you'd like to just come into a knee to chest hug. I would like to do a longer guided relaxation today. So whenever you're ready, just transition into Shavasana. My voice lifts once again, but you can go ahead and just allow yourself to just melt into your mat. Making yourself nice and comfortable. So if you'd like to grab warm socks or a blanket, please feel free to do so. You could take a bolster or a pillow to the tops of the thighs or the belly in Shavasana as you lie prone on your back. But the one thing I do not recommend is don't take a pillow underneath the head or a bolster underneath the head, as that creates more of a crook in the neck. It takes the neck out of alignment. We really want to be able to just melt into the earth as much as possible. That's the great thing about corpse pose, about Shavasana, about just lying flat on your back, is that you don't really need to worry about your alignment. You just give it all up to the earth. Good. All right. Once you have made yourself comfy, start to return to the breath. Once again, your eyes can be opened or closed. Imagining that the outer edges of your body are just widening and softening into the earth. As I said, I'm going to do a little bit of a guided relaxation, a systematic relaxation and engagement throughout the body. If you would prefer for about the last 12 minutes to simply just be in Shavasana and breathe, please disregard my words. But for those of you who would like to follow along, go ahead and take your awareness to the bottoms of your feet, to the tops of the feet, and to your toes. Just noticing how your feet are feeling, seeing what sensations you might be feeling in the feet. And then start to engage the muscles of the feet. Now, maybe that means flexing your toes back towards your face, or maybe that means what I like to call making fists with your feet, where you kind of tuck your toes under, almost like you're trying to touch your toes to the heels or to the bottoms of your feet, to the soles of your feet. Take a deep breath here, and then allow the feet to relax. Kind of just taking stock of, how do my feet feel? Do they feel different now than they did before I did that engagement in the feet? And then allow your awareness to move up the ankles to the lower part of the leg. So to the shins, to the sides of the lower parts of the legs, to the calves. Seeing how that area of your body feels. And then once again, engaging this part of your body, engaging just your calves. I'm going to see if I can get Grisha to just... Sorry about that, everyone. All right, so allowing the calves to engage here, and then allow that engagement to fade. Taking stock of where you've already been. How do your feet feel? How do your calves feel? How do your shins feel? And allow this engagement to once again move up the body, past the knees, to the thighs, to the upper legs, to the femur bones. Just taking stock of how this portion of your legs is feeling. And then once again, bring engagement to just the thighs. See if you can keep the calves and the feet as relaxed as possible, pinpointing this engagement as much as possible to just the thigh muscles. Deep inhale here. And then as you exhale, allowing the thighs to relax. How do your feet feel? How do your knees feel? How do your calves feel? How do your thighs feel? And then once again, moving your awareness up your body to your pelvic floor, to your abdominal muscles, to the lower sides of the body, to the lumbar spine. Excuse me. I've got a little tickle. Seeing how you feel in this general vicinity of the body, and then starting to allow all those muscles to engage. So the pelvic floor can engage. You could allow the glutes to engage a little bit, and the abdominal muscles engage. Taking just a few breaths here, really pinpointing this engagement to that portion of the body. And then exhale, all of that engagement can relax. Traveling back through your body once again. This is like a journey. Moving back to the feet. How do they feel? How do your calves feel? How do your knees and your thighs feel? How do you feel in the abdominal muscles, the pelvic floor? And then once again, moving your awareness up your body, this time to the upper half of your trunk. So to your chest, to the sides of your body, underneath the armpits, to the back of the body, your shoulder blades. And then pinpointing this area of your body, allow this part of your body to engage. So this part of your core engages, your shoulder blades engage, the deep muscles of the back and the chest engage. Taking a few breaths here, allowing this engagement to really be pinpointed to this part of the body, allowing everything else to remain as relaxed as possible. Exhale, allow this area of the body to relax as well. Are your feet relaxed? Are your lower legs relaxed? Are your upper legs relaxed? Is your pelvic floor relaxed? Your belly, your chest, your shoulders. And then allow your focus to once again move up the body and down the arms. So in this one, we're going to take stock of everything from your fingertips to your shoulder heads. Maybe noticing the temperature of the room on your arms. Maybe noticing the backs of your arms grounding into the earth. And then when you're ready, if you're ready, allowing this part of your body to also engage. So all the muscles of your arms simultaneously engage. Maybe you make fists with your hands. Maybe you make those Rosie the Riveter arms once again. We can do it, guys. Taking a few breaths here with nice engaged arms. And then allow that engagement to fade. Allow the arms to relax, the hands to relax. Moving back through your journey, through your body. How do your feet feel? How do your calves and shins feel? How do the knees, the thighs feel? How does the pelvic floor, the glutes, the abdominal muscles, the chest, the shoulder blades? How do all these areas in your body feel? Do they feel a little bit more relaxed? There are no wrong answers. There is just honesty. When you're ready, allowing your focus to shift to the neck, the lower jaw, and possibly to the upper portion of the shoulders. Whenever you're ready, and this is a tricky one because sometimes you can get a little bit of a cramp in the neck. Allow the neck muscles to engage. Maybe you allow the teeth to clench ever so slightly. Maybe you allow the muscles underneath the chin to engage, the back of the neck, the tops of the shoulders. Just engage just a little bit here. Taking this as deeply or as minimally as what would feel good and beneficial in your body. Taking another deep inhale. And as you exhale, this also fades. Moving back through your body. Take your awareness to your feet, your lower legs, your upper legs, your pelvis, your lower trunk, your upper trunk, your arms, your neck, your jaw. And then once again, moving your awareness up your body, this time to the cranium, to the head, to the crown of the head, and to the face. And this one might feel a little bit silly, but it's okay. You're in a safe space. You're in your home. We're going to imagine that we're engaging all the muscles in the face, and then we're trying to pull all of our facial features in towards center, in towards the nose. So like I said, it might feel kind of funny, it might look kind of funny, but we're just gonna purse the lips, we're gonna squint the eyes, we're gonna furrow the brow, we're gonna imagine that our ears are moving in towards center, we're gonna imagine the crown of the head's moving towards the chin and the chin's moving towards the crown of the head. Almost like your nose is a black hole and all of your other facial features and parts of your cranium are just kind of moving in towards this black hole nose. Becoming really engaged in the face. It's really hard for me to talk and do this one. And then when you're ready, allowing this engagement to also fade. Moving through the body once again. How do the feet feel? How do the legs feel? How does your pelvic floor feel? How do the glutes feel? How does your trunk feel on the front of the body, on the back of the body, the arms, the hands, the shoulders, the neck, and the face? And then on your next inhale, maybe allowing all of the muscles of the body to engage all at once, simultaneously, just engaging everything for just one single, deep, glorious, enlivened breath. And as you exhale, allow that engagement that you discovered to just melt into the earth. Give it all up to Mother Earth. Come fully and completely into Shavasana. Allowing yourself to just breathe here for the next few minutes. Just allow yourself to just be. Before you start to reintroduce any movement back in the body, start to just think about where in your body you would like to experience a little bit of movement. Envision what that would feel like. Maybe even envision what that would look like. And then slowly, slowly start to bring movement back to the body. Maybe that means wiggling fingers or toes, rotating ankles or wrists, tilting your head gently from side to side. And then when you're ready, take your arms long on the earth behind you, stretching from either your toes to your fingers or your heels to your fingers, becoming a long, glorious, tall version of yourself here on the earth. So the tallest version of yourself possible, stretching fingers towards one wall, stretching feet towards another. And then when you're ready, gently pulling your knees in towards your chest. And then gently rolling over onto one side, a side of your choosing. Take a complete breath here. So a complete inhale, a complete exhale. And then whenever you're ready, Gently transitioning once again to a comfortable seat. Take your time getting there. Whenever you arrive, once again, ears over shoulders, rib cage over the bowl of the pelvis. Sitting bones ground into the earth, legs ground into the earth, as the crown of the head lifts towards the sky. Shoulder blades can lift slightly towards the ears, rotate gently onto the back body, and then gently relax into place. We'll take another deep inhale here, lifting arms up towards the sky, finding length all along the trunk, all along the arms, all along the neck. And then hands can touch and hands can lower to heart center. Taking just a few breaths here, maybe taking a private moment of gratitude, or maybe sending a little bit of love and compassion, kindness out into the world with each breath. We breathe here. The divine light that resides inside of me reaches out and acknowledges that divine light that lives inside all living beings. May this practice be of benefit. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me today, everybody. It is, once again, just an honor and a privilege to be able to spend this time with you, even if it is just virtually. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for supporting West End Yoga. There are so many amazing teachers at this studio. I just feel privileged to be able to teach at their sides. Thank you also for being flexible with my co-teacher, Grisha the kitty, today. I'm hoping that instead of being a nuisance, she just brought a smile to your face, as she does to mine every single day. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I hope that we can share this time together again sometime soon. Hopefully, before we know it, we will all be together physically once again at West End. Take care, everyone. Namaste.